Hello and welcome to Film Peaks, where we investigate where film peaks or valleys. I'll keep this spoiler free, but I will include a riff section at the end where I show my score and give some thoughts. I show my score at the end because I show the quality of the film throughout, and some people might view that as a spoiler. There have been a decent number of video game adaptations lately. I just did a review on the walking simulator Exit 8. We had Iron Lung earlier this year. But we also do get some stinkers in the mix too. There was the Silent Hill not too long ago and the Mortuary Assistant. So it's a bit of a mixed bag these days, but less so I think than in the past. But we're still not quite at that point where we consistently get good video game adaptations. But today we have another with Mortal Kombat 2. I am a bit biased here because I did grow up playing Mortal Kombat on the Sega Genesis. And I did always favor the ninja characters, so Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Reptile, that kind of stuff. I've spent countless hours trying to figure out fatalities, tossed in some babalities, and a couple friendships here and there as well. The fan favorite champions, now joined by Johnny Cage himself, are pitted against one another in the ultimate battle to defeat the dark rule of Shao Kahn that threatens the very existence of the Earth Realm and its defenders. Now, I do wonder here, they specifically mention fan favorites. If you were to look up the most popular characters of Mortal Kombat, I don't think that you would get this specific list of characters in the movie. But anyway, it's directed by Simon McQuoid. He's pretty much only done these Mortal Kombat movies and like one other thing. So he's pretty much the Mortal Kombat guy now. Now, I did enjoy the 2021 reboot as well. So I think it's good to have more of these, especially after Annihilation. It's a pretty large cast here, so I'm not going to name everyone, but we do get most of the returning cast from the 2021 movie. So if you want to know everybody, watch that one first and you'll know most of the people that are coming into this one. But as mentioned, we do have the addition of Karl Urban as Johnny Cage. Now, real quick, I think that Dredd was probably his best character, and that character kind of shines through a little bit here with some of the lines that he delivers, with some comedic touches added on as well, because he is, like a movie actor of like the 90s of 2000s. But I just can't believe we never got a sequel to Dredd. Also, it's an interesting rendition of this character. In this movie, he's more of a washed up action hero. So, he's already through his glory days, and he could have just been a movie actor still. But then I think you would need, a younger actor, and his character arc would be completely different, because there is an important piece here of him kind of reliving those glory days a little bit. There was a slight marketing debate here because based on the trailer and everything, you would think that Johnny Cage is the main character, but it's a bit of a 50-50 split between him and Katana, Adeline Rudolph. And I think she was great, but the gist with her is that she was around whenever her realm fell and she's wanting to get revenge. Tati Gabrielle is Jade as Katana's sort of sister figure here. I thought she did all right, but I don't think that she was that important throughout the film. And it's an interesting choice to make her character bald, but I think that's kind of her shtick, because I think every other role that she has been bald. But I don't know, maybe it's so all the ninja chicks look different. Martin Ford as Shao Kahn, I thought he did a pretty good job. It was really cool to see him do all the like green fire shoulder checks into things, like his moves from the game. But he did kind of get his ass kicked through a lot of the scenes of the movie, despite being said as the ultimate warrior, essentially. CJ Bloomfield as Baraka was another interesting choice. Not that he did a bad job or anything, I just don't remember that character as being British. He's kind of like this clan living out in the middle of nowhere of vicious killers, and it's just not really what I expected. Now, I didn't mention the other works that most of these people have been in, because unfortunately a lot of their other works are probably something you haven't seen, or they haven't really been scored that highly. But I think they did a good job with this cast, and I think because they didn't gather a ton of big budget actors, they can really control that budget overall here, and I think they did a good job with that. And you know, if they're going to bring back this amount of characters, why is there still no reptile? Like, it doesn't have to be the creepy little lizard that goes into a statue and becomes a guy either. It can be a different rendition. I really would like to see that character. And I mean, he's loyal to Shang Tsung, and he is in this movie, so I think it would have been a welcome addition. Now, speaking of Shang Tsung, I think you're not really going to beat him as being the best Mortal Kombat villain in a movie yet, at least. There's just no topping that one scene where he's like, "Your soul is mine." And it's just a little bit unfortunate here because in this movie, he's more of like the typical scheming henchman that you would see from like a 90s Saturday cartoon. And so overall, the movie did have that kind of 90s, 2000s vibe, which I personally am all about. Like the most recent Top Gun, F1, Mission Impossible, those all were like 90s, 2000s action movies. And I really enjoyed that about them. And you know, another one that comes to mind was the most recent Final Destination movie as well. If you haven't seen that, check that one out too. But it has these major fortresses that are more or less unguarded, even though you have seen guards in previous scenes. People do just kind of appear whenever the time is right to move the plot forward. But the runtime is about an hour and 45 minutes, so they don't really have much more room to work with. Like, you can't really make a movie longer than this for Mortal Kombat. There are also some secret hidden areas that are kind of like Indiana Jones style. You press a stone button and it activates a lever and it reveals a secret room to do some things. There's a little bit of that. And it even has like the 90s, 2000s cheesy one-liners peppered all throughout. Now, this is specifically a fist fighting game that we're talking about here. So there are some goofy weapons thrown in the mix. And yes, I know some of the attacks do use weapons and there's projectiles and all kinds of stuff. But it's just interesting to see that some of the greatest warriors of the realm use weapons such as like sharpened fan blades and hats that have a blade on them. And the Jubei uses like the two fighting sticks. And even though he's basically like Charon from Fire Force, but it's just not what you would really expect if you don't know Mortal Kombat. Now, if you are familiar with Mortal Kombat and you are going to see the movie, there's a few things that you probably will expect. Epic fights, brutal kills, cool stages, and a paper-thin story. And you get all of that here. The story is not important. It's the same as always. There's a tournament where the best fighters of the realm must defend it. There's not really much mention of the first movie. I mean, it's an entirely new tournament. Shao Kahn is about to win his 10th tournament in a row, which gives him power over another realm. So Earth must scrounge up its best fighters to defend it. So in this one, we get a guy with robot arms who is ex-military, an ex-military chick who has some pulse bracelets, a guy who can shoot fire from his hands, basically Charon from Fire Force with the two fighting sticks, and a guy who's really good at martial arts. However, they do add some side questing to it just to try to pad things out a little bit, which is understandable because you can't have just fighting throughout the entire movie. But I think if we were to cut out like one fight, I think you would still get the same level of quality and have it just be a little bit leaner. And I think the one that I would choose is probably the stuff around Baraka, because it really is just a chance to toss in another fight, have some comedy, but at the same time, it does kind of evolve a certain character's character arc. So I get it. I just don't think I think you could have changed that around a little bit. And to add on to that, it is kind of more of the 90s. Okay, we got to find the hidden entrance that is unguarded that leads us into a giant fortress scene. There is another character that probably could have been cut altogether, but I'll hit that in the riff section. Also, Jade did not seem that important throughout the movie. It's probably tough to juggle who all gets screen time whenever you get this many characters. And I'm no lore master of Mortal Kombat by any means, but I would like to hear the process that the gods go through to set up the tournament and the rules and everything, because there are definitely some things that happen that would totally be illegal if it was like an Earth tournament of anything. But I'll hit that in the riff section too. The only other thing that kept coming to mind in this movie was that in Kitana's realm, you get to see a bit of the city that she's from. And it really reminded me of that same city from the Witcher series on Netflix. Like specifically that one area where he's standing there and he's like, fuck. It was just a small medieval looking town, and there's only ever around like 50 people in the town square. So to have this be your capital of an entire realm, but only show this little subset of people, it just didn't seem like that grand of a scale in that particular area. And that probably does have to do with like the set sizes that they were working with. They do have some really good sets here, but you will be able to tell the use of green screens in some of the lesser important scenes. And it is really obvious. But they save the good stuff for like the fighting stages. Those are really well done. They're pretty true to the game in certain areas, and they were very entertaining. Overall, it was a pretty good time, especially if you like the games and if you like the 2021 movie. They definitely improved upon the formula for the first one. It's less of a open story. There's more tournament stuff going on, but it's still, you know, light story, cool fights, brutal deaths. A good time if you ask me. I will definitely be anticipating the next one because it is sure to come out at some point. I'll call it here before going to the riff section, so if this is your jumping off point, thank you for making it this far. Let me know what you think on the Film Peaks app. It's actually out in most regions in the world at this point. It wasn't until like recently. There's just extra crap going on with that. I'll talk about it in a different video, but let me know what you think. We are about to go to the riff section though. We move on. All right, we have made it to the riff section. This is your last chance to avoid any sort of spoiler. Okay, here we go. This is what I thought of the movie. I thought it was a pretty good time. Like I said, I did grow up playing these games, not so much these days with all the microtransactions and bullshit that goes along with like most fighting games these days, but I do have some good memories with them. I think everybody, if you're a gamer, should have a dedicated fighter. There's just nothing else like there after experiencing that growth after getting your ass kicked over and over and finally being able to realize how to pull off certain combos and whatnot. Give it a try. I don't have much else to add here because the movie is pretty cut and dry, but I do have a few thoughts here. With Kitana switching sides, I do question the process of the tournament. Like, is this the first time that's happened? Is that really allowed? I feel like that's kind of a cheap way to win. Like, there's probably a way to game the system if that is allowed. Also, if Raiden's temple is indeed on Earth, I don't think that in today's day and age there'd be a way that that isn't found yet. But again, I'm no lore master, so maybe he has like a magic barrier around it or something. I don't know. And another thing, Liu Kang did kind of have some plot armor for most of the movie, but I think this really is a setup for whenever he becomes the god of like fire and time, I think it is. But we'll see in the next one. And I mentioned Jade not really being that important. She was just kind of there to stir up things a little bit and do one fight. And it really wasn't until she did the whole staff slam being in the nether realm that she did anything of importance. And you know, speaking of being important, Noob Saibot, I feel like you didn't really need that character. I think it was just an excuse to show the whole Sub-Zero resurrection thing. But he was mostly there to just move the MacGuffin, the amulet, along. But I mean, it is a cool concept of a character, name aside. If you don't know, the name is just the two creators' names mushed together and backwards. But, you know, speaking of that, them being in the nether realm, I thought you had to have a guide to go through it. And so Noob, Saibot, and Jade just kind of like sail through it pretty easily. I don't know, we're already dealing with a large cast, so it's just interesting to see who else they're going to pile on, and I guess we'll see more in the next one, hopefully. Anyways, what do you think? Do you think this was a good video game adaptation? Who do you think deserves to be added to the roster? Who do you think was a little extra on the roster? Let me know in the Film Peaks app. It's out on iOS and on Android, and it's free. Thank you so much for watching this far, and I'll see you at the top.